the Bottom Line, where we examine trending and important news. The story of the APNU AFC Chief Whip Christopher Jones's alleged use of state funds earmarked by the then coalition government for support to small businesses to construct a barbershop for himself took an interesting turn when documents revealed that he was gifted state lands on 2 occasions for the same plot of land for the construction of his barbershop. In fact, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anu Nandalal recently revealed that the plot of land that Jones was hurriedly given title to takes up land on which a state-held facility is constructed. In a recent edition of his Facebook program, the AG alluded to the land transaction as he sought to highlight how Jones did nothing of substance to empower Afro-Guyanese during his tenure of the APNU plus AFC coalition administration, but was busy helping himself.
Christopher Jones, what did he do for any youth group in this country? I could tell you what he did for himself. He took money from the government. At the time when he made the application, he did not even have a business. After he made the application and the ministry told him that you have to have a business, he then went to register a barber shop. And he uplifted millions of dollars to open a barber shop that was never opened. He had all the materials at his house. He did not stop there. He went to Lands and Surveys and got a piece of land at Aubrey Barker Road, South Drumvelt. And he got a title. And the title, half of the title related to the health center. He has a certificate of title issued to him that took over half of the health center in South Drumvelt. I have the documents. And the other half is where he was supposed to build his barbershop. But the certificate of title that they gave him was for the health center as well. So he owns a government health center. What did he do for those people in Buxton to whom he was speaking and whom he was encouraging to go and riot and do wickedness on the road?
Back in September 2020, an investigation revealed that Jones was gifted the same land on 2 occasions. One media house had reported that Trevor Benn, the former Commissioner, Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission, allegedly passed instructions that Jones's fees be waived. The investigation found that in 2017, Jones reportedly applied to the Commission on behalf of Precision Cuts Barbershop to lease for a period of 50 years a portion of state land at Festival City, Georgetown. Along with his application, Jones submitted a business registration and a detailed business proposal outlining the intended business. An inspection of the land was later conducted in January of 2018, showing a small shed Jones claimed to be his. In November of the same year, he was granted approval and issued the 50-year lease for the 0.24 acres of land. Sometime in the first quarter of 2020, the manager of the Commission Secretariat stated that an alternative portion of land had to be identified for Jones because the land was previously allocated for the erection of a health center. As a result, a new application for Jones was drawn up. This application was processed after the March 2nd, 2020 general and regional elections, and at a time when attempts to fraudulently manipulate the results of those elections in favor of the APNU plus AFC were ongoing. Jones's new lease was later presented to him on June 15, 2020. The old lease was never cancelled or returned to the Commission. Barbados recently announced several measures to cushion the effects of the global rise in the cost of living, and opposition politicians in Guyana are using it as a rallying cry against the PPPC government. What is being obfuscated is the fact that most of the interventions now being made in Barbados were already done in Guyana by the PPPC administration. When the Dr. Irfan Ali-led administration came into office in 2020, VAT was removed completely from water and electricity consumption in its first budget. On the other hand, Barbados is now reducing VAT on electricity from 17.5% to 7.5%. Another example that suffices is that while Barbados is now removing VAT on 44 essential food items, many of these food items, such as whole chicken, chicken back, eggs, etc., do not attract VAT in Guyana. In fact, in its 2021 budget, the PPPC government restored to zero-rated status all of the food items and other basic household necessities that were previously zero-rated at the time it demitted office in 2015 that the APNU plus AFC put VAT on. These items include basic wheaten flour, basic bread, oats, unflavored cracked biscuits, cooking oil, locally produced bed sheets and pillowcases, and toothbrushes, among other items. The facts are that since assuming office in August of 2020, the PPPC government has provided billions of dollars in relief to first cushion Guyanese from the crippling effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, then the severe flooding, and after the rise in costs of living, all of which were brought on by circumstances outside its control. Forceful removal of the maize.
Natural Resource Fund Act. Sir, that Natural Resource Fund Act, in fact, is one of the most vulgar, and sir, we are witnessing now unprecedented vulgarity in the National Assembly of Guyana.
The severe damage to 300,000 worth of audio and visual equipment at the Artichoke Conference Center. These events led to the National Assembly officially adopting the report of the Committee of Privileges, which recommended the suspension of 8 opposition members of Parliament. During the debate on the Natural Resources Fund Bill in December 2021, chaos broke out as opposition MPs attempted to disrupt the proceedings at the Artichoke Conference Center, Lillian Dahl. Senior Minister of Finance Dr. Ashni Singh stood his ground in the face of what was described as unprecedented vulgarity from members of the political opposition as they attempted to stop the passage of the bill. Dr. Singh was at the time making a presentation when the coalition assault began. Whistles were blown, placards were held up as the disruptors took to the floor of the dome.
Mr. Speaker, this bill comes before this House after a robust debate on the local content bill. And it perhaps, sir, is of tremendous significance that the bill comes as it does after the debate on the local content bill.
Human walls had to be formed around the mace and Minister Singh. In taking it a step further, the opposition MPs jostled as they sought to forcibly remove the Speaker's mace. Their attempts were thwarted by a member of staff of Parliament who was thrown to the floor, threatened and racially abused. The entire ordeal was caught on video.
Who are you? House Negro! Who are you? House Negro! Who are you? House Negro! House Negro!
Following the mayhem in December, a motion tabled by Parliamentary Affairs and Governance Minister Gail Teixeira was passed in the National Assembly in January for the 8 elected officials to be referred to the Privileges Committee over their actions. It was this bipartisan committee which recommended the suspension of the 8, Annette Ferguson, Christopher Jones, Ganesh Mahipal, Vintroy Jordan, Tabitha Sarabu-Hali, Sherrod Duncan, Maureen Philadelphia, and Natasha Singh Lewis. The committee's report recommended that MPs Jones, Mahipal, Duncan, and Singh Lewis be suspended for 4 consecutive sittings, and Ferguson, Sarabu-Hali, and Jordan be suspended for 6 consecutive sittings. Attorney General Anil Nandalal, who also supported the suspension of the 8 opposition members, made reference to the move by the opposition members to the court to challenge the suspension. He said the judiciary should exercise caution and care in approaching issues of a parliamentary committee.
Among the affairs that Parliament is to regulate is the discipline of members, the conduct of members in the Assembly, the process of the Assembly itself, and the protection of the integrity of that process. Those are intrinsically, inherently, and innately parliamentary functions. When the Parliament exercises its powers to discipline its officers, Those are innately and intrinsically parliamentary functions. So if another agency or organ of the state wants to be part of those functions, it is that other agency that has to be careful that it will not trespass upon the province of Parliament.
Governance Minister Gail Teixeira defended the decision to suspend the members of Parliament, declaring that proper parliamentary conduct must always be maintained.
But I hope that you will not see this as just another battle to win, but to sit and think quietly. Was it all worth it? What badge of honor have you got out of this behavior? And what example have you given to the Guyanese people and to the Guyanese young people and the children who saw that day? So, Mr. Speaker, I totally support the recommendations of the committee of which I was a part of which you chaired, and I want to ask the members of the opposition to please accept the recommendations with dignity and remorse, and let's get on with the business of this House.
Handing down his ruling, Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, said he is convinced that his decision was grounded in principle.
But in all of this, throughout all the jurisdiction, it comes down to, in the end also, the discretion of the Speaker. And I'm happy to say in this case, my discretion is founded in Constitution, in Convention, and in Commonwealth practices. And so, while I've listened to the Honorable Member, Mr. Ramjatan, I now would have to disagree with him and ask that we proceed with the matter before us.
Christopher Jones, Ganesh Mahipal, Sharon Duncan, and Natasha Singh Lewis will be suspended for 4 consecutive sittings of the National Assembly. Annette Ferguson, Vince Roy Jordan, Tabitha Sarabo Halley, and Maureen Philadelphia are now suspended for 6 consecutive sittings. Government's part-time jobs in Region 10 is being welcomed by residents, many of whom said it's helping to make ends meet. This initiative was officially launched by Vice President Dr. Bart Jagdeo after making a commitment back in March. I spent some time in the region talking to these newly employed Guyanese.
Since I've finished at LTI, I hadn't much experience in any other aspect, just sales rep. So I decided to take part in the activity as a part-time job. I work at NCN and I basically assist with the producers. Also, I've assisted with the sales rep, and also I assist in studio as well.
Well, I'm responsible for writing up a bill, the check orders, writing up the gate pass, checking stocks when it leave and when it come in of stores. Thus far, it's been a very nice experience, I would say. I love being here and everything. My first welcome, it was amazing. I came in and they welcomed me with open arms, everybody, and so far, I just love being here.
I'm responsible for typing letters and taking minutes in meetings. It has been a great experience for me because I get to use the acquired knowledge to get a job in the future.
The availability for jobs in Linden is really tough. You're sending a lot of applications, different places, no response. And the place that responds, you have to get work and experience to get a job. So when I saw the application for the part-time, I just applied. I work in the IT department at the Mackenzie Hospital, mainly adding system to the domain, fixing, troubleshooting different problems around the hospital.
Okay, what motivated me to apply for the part-time job initiative is that mainly that Linden doesn't have jobs at the moment. It do, but it's like firefighter, police, nurse, teacher. Those are the only jobs that they have in Linden. Okay, I work Linden Hospital Complex. I fall under occupational health and safety. My duties are to inspect the surroundings of the hospital. There's so many things that I've, learned during the 2 months that I'm here that I didn't know about occupational health and safety. What I learn here, I take it home and I practice it at home and in my environment. So.
I finished school last year and I didn't really had much to do, so I applied for the part-time job. I work in accounts department and I do inventory. So far, good, because I get to understand the work and I'm learning a lot, and I'm here for the experience too.
I've never worked before, but when I heard about the part-time job, I just decided to apply to gain experience in the working field. I work in the IT department and I basically do a timesheet.
Thousands of Guyanese flocked to Providence National Stadium, East Bank Demerara, to witness the display of the evolution of Guyana's architectural future through innovation and new technology at the 2022 International Building Exposition. The premier expo, officially launched by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, features over 300 local, regional and international companies in manufacturing, engineering, finance, construction and other services.
Infrastructural transformation must be linked to the human transformation and advancement. It must be linked to life-changing experiences of the people of our country. So the roads and the bridges that you hear us talk about, the new buildings, they are all linked to the upliftment of human life here in Guyana. The transformation is linked to expanded economic opportunities. It is linked to the improvement of livelihood. It is linked to the advancement of society, all with a human aspect. This must be supported by a platform that is diversified. And that brings me to economic transformation. Economic transformation is about positioning Guyana to be the best in the region in food production, food security, understanding what is food engineering, and ensuring that our agricultural plans are critically integrated into the infrastructural transformation, and our human resource transformation is linked to the transformation in agriculture. All of this will be done and executed on a scale never seen before in the history of our country. And when I speak about scale, it is not only scale in a quantitative manner. It is positioning our development to be ahead of others. We cannot approach the development path in a straight line. It will take us too long. That is why we are bringing the best in class. We are following the best possible practices, and we are moving way ahead of our time. We are positioning Guyana in an international construct that is second to none. Our healthcare system, powered by the best. Our education system, powered by the best. Our governance system, powered by the best. Our construction sector, powered by the best. We are going to be a leader, and we must prepare ourselves to be that leader. The vision that we have must be supported by capital, raising the funds, finding the funds, encouraging the banking system to help the private sector, the small and medium-sized enterprises, financing them, giving them the capital, the injection that is required to go after the mission. It must be supported by research and development. Technological transfer and advancement must have with it research and development, because you have to find the best applicable technology to the local environment. We must be able to build trust in the society, trust in the system, trust in institutions that support the system. Very important. We must learn from the best practices available. We must work to enhancing every single institution. We must build partnership. We have to select our partners. We have to know who has our best interest at heart. We have to be honest to our partners. And we have to ensure also that we seek from our partners honesty and trust too. In building strong partnership, we must respect each other. We must trust each other. We must support each other. We must share the same values and principles. We must stand up for the same values and principles every single day.
Also speaking at the opening ceremony, Housing and Water Minister Colin Crowell announced the investment of over $100 billion over the next 3 years to meet the demands for housing for Guyanese through infrastructural development and the construction of homes.
The establishment of new housing units, new housing developments across Guyana, the upgrading of existing areas, all under 2 years, have been met with huge smile of relief from citizens who are anxious to own their own homes, and I am pleased that so far we have allocated almost 12,000 house lots in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. We have under construction over 1,200 units and have handed over 300 to families for occupancy. We have distributed and processed over 3,000 titles and transports. We have allocated lands even for commercial and industrial purposes. And during this event, we will be allocating a further 5,000 house lots in new blocks in Great Diamond, Plantation, Great Diamond, Grove, Metamerzark on the West Coast, Stewartville, Nonpareil Enterprise on the East Coast. While the demand for housing and land that we see today is much different from previous times, now citizens want a different style. They want different choice. They want prefab houses. They want pre-built houses. And the rapid evolving oil and gas sector has also brought its own unique demands for modern housing, particularly for condominiums, for which I am proud to say earlier this year we have passed new legislation to recognize the building of condominiums. We have grown accustomed to building with concrete and wood, but with the global challenges of climate change and environmental exploitation, we must now pursue constructive technologies which will reduce our carbon footprint. Over the next 3 years, more than $100 billion will be invested in regional infrastructures and building works across the 10 administrative regions. These works will begin to close the development gap between the coast and the hinterlands and interject new life in other areas. Additionally, $20 billion will be spent on the expansion of major highways, such as the extension of the Aubrey-Barker Road to Enmore, the extension of the Eccles landfill and Schooner to Crane, and a further $30 billion will be expended on the construction of 1,500 housing units in LBI, 1,000 in Lenora, 1,000 in Wales, and even in Silica City.
The PPPC government's ambitious national housing program has seen thousands of Guyanese realizing their dream of home ownership through the introduction of bold and aggressive initiatives. To date, Close to 12,000 house lots were distributed in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 and 10, and 1,200 units built in regions 3, 4, 6 and 10, 300 of which have been handed over to families. Over 12 years ago, in August 2010, Guyana held its first building expo. It was an initiative by President Ali, who served as the then housing minister, to create linkages between local businesses and other regional and international companies. The expo is being held under the theme, A New Frontier for Building a One Guyana. And that's the bottom line.